Hi everyone, my name is Queenie.
Hi, my name is Nicolette, and we're licensed real estate consultants in Singapore. In today's episode, we will discuss EC versus condo, which is a better choice, with full breakdown and case studies. One of the most common questions we usually get is why are EC so much more affordable than private condos? And more importantly, does cheaper always mean better? So in today's video, we will break down EC versus private condo and ultimately which option puts you better in a long-term position. Before we move on, do help us like, share and subscribe to our channel for the latest property insights.
First segment, EC versus condo. A very common question that we often receive from our clients is why and how are ECs actually more affordable than private condo? Firstly, I think we need to understand that ECs are subsidized housing, and of course, there are rules in place regulated by the government. Because of this, buyers must meet eligibility criteria when they purchase, the most important being the 16,000 household income ceiling. So with restrictions in place, government definitely will set a lower reserve price for EC land, and this explains why EC land sales are consistently cheaper than private residential land. When we look at historical land sale data, we do see that EC lands are typically around 20 to 30% lower than that of private condo land sale in the same area. Let us take a look at the most recent land bid in the different locations where actually there are new EC and new private land sales that took place within the same period of time. So firstly, this is in the Tampines North area. We see that there was a 26% price gap between Orel and Parktown land bid. Next up, all the way in the west, Tengah, we saw a 36% price gap between Auto Place and the upcoming Tengah plot. Lastly, something that is up and coming in Q1 of next year, Tampines West area, 32% price gap between Resale and Pioneer Residences.
So what's the difference between a brand new EC and a private condo? So let's break it down into three main factors. First up being the location. So location for ECs are generally located in the OCR and suburban areas, as we can see from here, slightly further from MRT and often accessible via bus or LRT. So private condos are especially in the RCR and CCR region. Okay, so more central, closer to MRT, and there's a stronger resale demand. Next, we look at financing. So this is very important. Assuming that both buyers are at the age of 35 years old and the MS loan rate is 4%. So let's take, for example, if the income is 12K and they're looking at a private condo, the loan is assessed by total debt servicing ratio. The estimated loan eligibility would be 1.38 million. As opposed to a brand new EC, the loan is assessed by mortgage servicing ratio. So the estimated loan eligibility is 754K. So this generally affects what? Your unit size that you can buy, your entry strategy, as well as long-term flexibility. Okay. So when we talk about long-term flexibility, we look at this thing called a holding period. So ECs generally come with a minimum holding period of 7 to 8 years, 5 years of MOP plus the construction. So even if, let's say, your income increases or your family grows or even a better opportunity arises, you cannot sell or upgrade until your MOP is met. So property is not like shopping. If you miss a good opportunity, it may not come back at the same price. So if you take a case study looking at River Cove, EC, and Forest Woods Condo. River Cove 3-bedder was 884K. Okay, so 7 years on when they sold, they actually made a profit of 543K. As opposed to Forest Woods, when they bought in 2016, they could actually sell in 3 years. But this seller sold in 4 years, making a profit of 283K. So we take a look at the timeline of both different scenarios. Okay, the River Cove buyer actually entered at a three bedder at 884K with a down payment of 221K. So 7 years later in 2025, the three bedder was sold at 1.428 million. This gives them a profit of 544K, including the initial down payment that gives them a total capital plus profit of 765K. However, if you actually entered into a private condo at Forest Wood, a three bedder was bought at 1.267 mil in 2016 with a down payment of 316K. So in 2020, the three bedder was sold at 1.55, making a profit of 283K. But what did this move allow the sellers to do? They allowed the sellers to upgrade to a four bedder Edgescape at 2.1 million in 2020. Fast forward 2025, this four bedder was sold at 3.18 million, making them a profit of 1.08 in 5 years. So this profit, including the profits from Forest Wood as well as their down payment, gave them a capital plus profit of 1.679 million. So the key takeaway from this is that condo buyers actually had more flexibility to recycle their capital faster and earlier.
And of course, as a potential buyer today, you may be wondering, should you actually go for resale EC or resale condo? So to answer that, okay, firstly, let us take a look at the overall performance of resale EC and resale condo over the past 5 years. Across almost all properties in Singapore, as we all know, prices spiked due to COVID over the past 5 years. Okay, so this is especially so in the HDB sector. And of course, many HDB owners, okay, would have actually taken the opportunity to upgrade to a condo during this period. As ECs are usually located within HDB estates and offer bigger size and a lower entry price, many HDB upgraders actually entered the resale EC sector, causing prices to go up faster than that of private condo. Before COVID, we see that the gap between resale EC and private condos was at 45%. And today, this gap has actually narrowed to 23%. So, of course, in terms of location, the ECs are generally located at the more outskirts area and not so accessible. Okay, maybe you need to take bus to the nearest MRT station or LRT. So back to the question, okay, which one should you go for? It really depends on your priority. If, let's say, location is something that I prioritize, okay, then we should focus on resale condos. However, if space and entry price is a priority, then we can look at the resale EC's options.
So what happens to an EC after 5 years or 10 years of ownership? So after 5 years of TOP, it becomes semi-privatized. And you can sell it in the open market to Singaporeans and PRs. Do note that if EC has already reached its MOP, there is no income cap. And after 10 years from TOP, it then becomes fully privatized. And when it becomes fully privatized, you can then sell it to foreigners. However, as per the latest changes in ruling, foreigner ABSD payable on their first property is already 60%. So it is quite unlikely that EC's demand will go up at the 10-year mark even though foreigners are eligible to purchase.
So next, let us take a closer look at the profit and investment potential of ECs. So as we all know, ECs make money for sure, but to what extent do certain ECs perform better than others? Here, let us take a look at these 3 developments that attained their 5 years MOP last year in 2024. We are looking at North Wave in Woodlands, Inns at Choa Chu Kang, and 100 Palms in the Serangoon North area. So North Wave and Inns being located in the more mature estates, naturally, HDB when sold there, value is not as high. So definitely, okay, our pool of upgraders in those areas will be smaller. Okay, however, in 100 Palms, it is actually nearer to 5 years MOP estates like Bidadari, Sengkang, and Punggol. Okay, naturally, pool of buyers are bigger, and buyers who are purchasing into this project, they will be more likely to pay a premium. Another consideration, of course, is within the Serangoon North area, okay, there will be upcoming transformation with the Cross Island Line. At the same time, okay, 100 Palms is also within 1 km of a very good school in the area. So right now, if you find what we have shared useful so far, do help us to like, share, and subscribe.
When is the best time to sell an EC? Is it after 5 or 10 years? So this really depends on your family plans and your intentions down the road. If you're considering to cash out from your profits to reinvest into a bigger asset, it might be the best time to consider. So let's take a look at this case study, right? Park Green, which was also a previous EC. When the first buyers bought, they bought a 3-bedder at 512K. And then fast forward to 2020, it was sold at 1.027 million. So in 18 years, actually, this buyer made a profit of 515K. So the question is, if the seller had actually sold in 2020, they could upgrade from a 3-bedder to a 4-bedder at Clairvon at 1.9 million. 5 years down the road, Clairvon's 4-bedder has been sold at 2.83 million, giving them a profit of 930K. So just by making one move back in 2020, this seller right now will be sitting on a down payment of 128K plus 515K of profits from Park Green, as well as 930K of profits from Clairvon, giving them a total capital and profit of 1.53 million. However, if we take a look, if let's say that seller continued to hold all the way till this year 2025, they would have made a bit more. Another 5 years gave them 157K. But looking at the grand scheme of things, the capital plus profits that they made only gave them 1.2 million. So let's just assume that if they were to upgrade and taking a 50% loan, what kind of options would they have available? The one that held all the way till 2025 could actually buy about 2.4 million, and the one who actually made one move will be able to actually explore a $3 million option. So moving earlier actually allowed the buyer to offer a $3 million asset instead of a 2.4 million.
So another case study, okay, here we are looking at Ostville Residences. So this particular unit has also changed hands for 3 times so far. Okay, from launch, okay, this 3-bedder was actually sold at 760K, and at a 5 years MOP mark, it was sold at 930K. Fast forward to today, market value about 1.39 million. Okay, so looking at the case study, we see that if this first owner has actually cashed out at the 5 years MOP mark, he would have unlocked a profit of 170K. Together with the initial down payment of 190K, this owner could have afforded to upgrade to a brand new 3-bedder in the city fringe area, Jadescape, at 1.44 million. Fast forward to 2024, he could have offloaded his unit at Jadescape at 2.1 million, unlocking another 660K profit. So when we consider his initial down payment, 190K plus 170K, together with his profit of 660K, today his capital and profit on hand is more than 1. So let's imagine this owner decided to stay put instead and only offloaded Ostville last year. Here we see that, of course, okay, over the years from 2019 to 2024, he would have continued to profit another 460K. But when we add up 190K initial down payment together with the profit of 170K plus 460K over the span of 13 years, okay, his total funds on hand would have only add up to 820K. Here, we are looking at a 200K difference. Of course, the bigger question is, in the timestamp of 2024, what are the options that one would have, with 820K capital on hand?
So the big question is it still worth to buy EC in today's price? As buyers, I think it's very important to understand what you can get today. So today, a EC on the average is launching at about 1,800 per square foot, as what we have seen in the previous launches for ECs. And the typical holding period will be about 7 to 8 years before you can cash out. But today, some brand new condos are even launching at a range of $1,800 to $1,900 per square foot. And this gives you shorter holding period and a bit more flexibility. So the question today is not whether is it still worth buying an EC in today's prices, but more of are you buying it for security or is it for capital recycling or potential asset progression?
Another common question we receive is, with all this record land bid price, will they continue to appreciate? So of course, we have to look at some case studies once again. And here, we are going to compare Asperina and Park Green. Asperina was actually launched way back in 2010, and at that point of time, Park Green, it was already a resale EC. So we see that during that period of time, there was a price gap of 25% between these two developments. Naturally, most buyers would prefer to go for a cheaper option, understandably. But if we look at the performance of these two developments, we see that buyers who chose to go with Asperina, their property would have appreciated by 122% as opposed to buyer who chose to enter Park Green. Appreciation was only about 89%. So this shows us that when buyers decide where to buy, they look beyond just price tag. There are other considerations on hand, like maybe accessibility, and of course, how new is the property, what is the remaining lease. Of course, when it comes to projecting whether ECs will appreciate, another aspect that we want to deep dive will be what is the profile of our future buyer. So for us, having served numerous HDB upgraders, what we have consistently observed is many of them actually prefer to stay within the same area when they upgrade due to familiarity. So here we are actually looking at the breakdown of a 5-room upgrader in the Tengah area. Right here in the same area, there will actually be an EC Lumina Grand that will MOP in the same year, come 2032. So based on the data provided by HDB, the median purchase price of a 5-room here would have been about 550K. And in 2032, based on the recent 5-room resale price in the area, conservatively, we will project the sales price to be at 888K. So when this owner upgrade in 2032, the capital and profit on hand would be about 475K. So this is actually made up of the initial 25% down payment together with the profit that will comes out from the sales. Based on the capital of 475K on hand and assuming a max loan of 75%, the affordability of this upgrader will be at 1.9 million. So taking a look at the launch price of Lumina Grand, we see that the average 3-bedroom prices is around the 1.47 mark. So taking a conservative 3% year-on-year growth, the average sales price of a 3-bedder in Lumina Grand come 2032 will be about 1.8 mil. And it is now within the affordability range of an upgrader in the area.
So another consideration is, of course, your lifestyle and long-term considerations, whether or not you are going to likely purchase an EC or a condo. So many people always ask, are EC facilities as good as condos, considering that they are actually cheaper? So ECs are generally built by same developers. So as we can see, Jadescape and the upcoming Coastal Cabanas are built by the same developers, right? So the full facilities are generally standard. But the good thing is that for most ECs, they even offer a tennis court. As you can see, for Coastal Cabana, they do. However, many condos, or rather some condos in Singapore, may not even offer full condo facilities, so some may not even offer a tennis court.
Of course, okay, ECs are generally not located near MRT and amenities, so their performance actually be affected. Okay, so let us take a look at 100 Palms Residences once again. So this development is actually not near to any existing MRT station and amenities, but we are looking at the profit of more than 1 mil, okay, for all these owners who actually sold their 4 and 5 bedder. So I think to me this kind of numbers, okay, is really a bit crazy for a EC. And on the ground, what we observe and hear from buyers is beyond just considering proximity to MRT and amenities. Typically, on-stay buyers, they look for big space. And in this case, 100 Palms itself is within 1 km of a very well-known school. And there is upcoming transformation in the area as well. In time to come, Cross Island Line will be up and coming in the area. So these definitely contributed to a very strong demand for this development.
So many first-time buyers ask us, is EC actually a good first home for young couples planning to have kids? So in short, I would say the answer is yes, due to the lower entry price and usually that they are surrounded by multiple primary schools, so it future-proofs a little bit. However, it's also important to very understand the financials and down payments required. To summarize EC versus condo, ECs are great as first homes, provides family-oriented living and a lower entry price. And for condos, it offers more flexibility, faster capital growth cycles, and a stronger long-term position. So the best choice really depends on your timeline, income growth, and your next move. So if you'd like us to run you through your affordability, upgrading strategy, or EC versus condo comparison based on your profile, reach out to myself or Queenie and we'll be happy to guide you through. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for the latest property insights. Till then, see you at the next video.